Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Spotlight Series conversation. Today's guest needs no introduction if you are familiar with Baseball Miracles. Michael McCarthy, one of the Baseball Miracles field coordinators, and also the pitching coach, one of the pitching coaches for the St. Paul Saints, the AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. Mike, great to have you, and hope all is well.
Sam, thanks for having me on. It's good to see you, brother.
Yeah, great to see you too. Where are you talking to me from?
We're actually right in the middle of a massive snowstorm in Reno, Nevada. So I spend the off seasons here, hanging out at Lake Tahoe, trail running, and then train young kids at a local facility here. So it's been good.
Nice. We were talking before this call, and you mentioned something about 7 feet of snow that's expected in the next couple of days.
Yeah, so Truckee is a town about maybe 15 minutes away, and they're expected to get 7 feet of snow over a 4 to 5 day period. So it'll be good snowshoeing and skiing coming up, but for right now, it's pretty treacherous.
Well, that's a good plug to follow Mike McCarthy on Instagram for some wild snow pictures. I think that'll be great.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, let's start from the beginning. For people that don't know who you are, you're a baseball junkie. You've been around the game for quite some time. But what was your childhood like and your introduction into the game of baseball?
I think I was like everybody, right? You play t-ball and coach pitch. Throw it underhand and try to make sure you make contact. They try to hit your barrel with the ball. You're out chasing butterflies in the outfield and picking your nose and all the stuff that we normally do. So that was 7, 8 years old, and then really baseball was my worst sport, right? I was really good at soccer and basketball, and baseball was just like this horrible experience. I think part of that we sabotage it with young kids and bad fields, potholes everywhere. And I actually, ironically, had surgery on my nose this past year, and it was because of a broken nose when I was 10. So, yeah, I had this whole time. I had no idea that my septum was so bad, but I just had a normal, I think, childhood growing up playing home league baseball and just work hard at everything you do and diversify your sports. Go to school. Don't screw up your spelling test on Friday, the usual stuff. And baseball I was horrible at it. God, I sucked at it. And I think when it turned over was probably when I got into high school. My freshman year, I got a little bit better, sort of in the middle of the pack there. And then my sophomore year, I ended up making varsity. And we were just a really bad team. I think we won 4 games that year. So it's a much easier to make the varsity team when you win 4 games versus, 14 or something like that. But I, from there, ended up, going to college and going the route that is probably more, excuse me, commonly known.
Mm-hmm. And all of that is great to hear. Just not great to hear that you weren't good at the beginning, but you were just just an open person and willing to find your way in the sport. So you get good in high school and then you ultimately go to Cal State Bakersfield. Walk me through that recruiting process and was that the only school that was reaching out to you, or were you a hot commodity once you were a junior, senior year in high school?
So interestingly enough, my junior and senior year, you start going through the recruiting process and you say, hey, I want to go to college. And so you start, we're trying to figure it out. My dad wasn't an athlete. None of us were student athletes. He was a firefighter, military guy. And we ended up, we use a company called Baseball Factory, and really, I got evaluated and they said, look, you play at a D3 school, maybe a D2 at the lower end. And that's about it. And I said, okay, wow, that's good insight. So we thought, well, let's keep applying to schools. And I was a pretty good student, 3.75 GPA or so. And I ended up applying to 22 schools and I got into 21 of them. And I got an academic scholarship to University of Redlands, which is a D3 school in Southern California. But I thought, I want to play Division I. And I remember going to like St. Mary's College, it was 45,000, and we're sitting down. I'm like, man, could you even pay for my books? They're like, yeah, we just see you as kind of a walk-on guy and come, see if you can make the team. And I'm like, 45,000, won't even pay for books. Okay, we need to, like, the writing is on the wall, right? It's pretty clear that you're not a Division I baseball player at a smaller Division I school like St. Mary's. And so I took the academic scholarship, went to University of Redlands for 2 years, played there. Went and played summer ball in Moses Lake, Washington, and played in the Northwest Collegiate Baseball League.
Okay.
And so we were playing these guys, and Oregon State had just won the College World Series, and so a lot of their freshmen and sophomores were playing in that league. a lot of Oregon guys, and I'm sorry, Washington State guys, and these pretty big name players. I'm like, man, I'm like hanging with these guys, no problem. And I'm striking out as many guys there. I'm throwing as many innings. I'm not giving up, more runs. The common things you look at, and like, okay. And it just left a little thought in my brain, like, oh, maybe, one day or some way that if that happened, I
Mhm.
wish it sort of wish I could have, so to speak. And then there ended up being a situation where I was able to. And so there was a mix up with the admissions department at University of Redlands, and they were saying, hey, we don't think you're gonna have your scholarship. I'm like, whoa. I mean, the academic scholarship is a huge part of the reason I came here,
Mm.
and that there was confusion about 2-year and 4-year scholarships. And so I ended up getting started emailing schools, and almost instantaneously I heard back from Cal State Bakersfield and Bill Kernan, who was starting the baseball program there from scratch. Not They didn't even have a field, and like they had just designated a plot of land to start building the field, and they were going to have a season that year supposedly.
Wow.
And so I said, okay, like I've got to make a choice here. And Cal State Bakersfield is a lot cheaper than University of Redlands, public versus private education. And so I transferred to Cal State Bakersfield, and wasn't eligible the first year. Turns out the NC2A had a residency rule that first year. Applied for exemption. Our compliance director never ended up submitting the paperwork. Really just some unfortunate circumstances that came up, and challenges that could have derailed my pursuit of baseball or wanting to be a part of the game. And so I ended up mowing lawns the whole first year. I was like the
Mhm.
grounds crew guy. By the way, it takes about an hour and 45 minutes to mow a field,
You
even on the
grew
big
it. You
tractor.
grew an appreciation. You grew an
That's
appreciation for
right.
the grounds crew.
I've even mowed a few minor league fields. They occasionally let me out there on the mower, which is great, only because I'm experienced. So I ended up mowing lawns, dragging the field, packing mounds, like doing everything I could to get on the team, and pitching in basically inter squads. But I never was on the team the first year.
Mm.
I only missed 2 games all year. One was because the grapevine was snowed over in Southern California, and another one was because a professor wouldn't let me miss for a test. But I
Wow.
flew to Missouri, I flew to Nebraska. Like I made my way to every single game on my own dime, and it ended up I made the team the next year, and then by my senior year I had a pretty good year, and ended up getting drafted and playing with the Red Sox after that, which was a great experience. So
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a second. Your
yeah.
senior year at Cal State Bakersfield was incredible, a 1.62 ERA. I could list off
Yeah.
statistics, but that ERA obviously stands out. And then your innings was at the top. You were tied for first in regular season innings among Division One schools, just about 127, right around there. What was the best part about that year, and your maybe favorite memory from that season?
Yeah, I think one of the things I appreciated the most was that I had that success on the field, no doubt. But I was coming off an injury in my junior year, right? So 2010, I was had a really significant shoulder injury. Had 4 cortisone injections. I didn't pick up a baseball for over 2 months, and it looked like I probably wasn't gonna be able to play. And had multiple setbacks leading up to that season. I was also, so I was really transitioning. Like, man, baseball might be over. I'm still going to work my butt off at it. I'm going to do everything I can to be the very best I can be, but this thing doesn't look good. And so what I ended up doing, I was actually served in student athlete advisory committee as the baseball rep, and I became the SAC president that year. And so we represent all student athletes. So almost 300 student athletes on campus. I represented them as the president. So I met with the president of the university, provost, athletic director, all on a regular basis. Was part of the athletic director search committee when we hired a new athletic director. And then I was fortunate to be recognized by my peers to receive the Railroad of the Year award for best well-rounded athlete, and then also the President's Award for the university, which I think all those were great honors.
Elated
And I felt
congratulations coming from me.
I appreciate, it was the stuff that wasn't necessarily on the field that I was so proud of. And I was a pre-med student, so I was taking 18 units, and I'd be in the biology lab at 6:30 in the morning, dissecting a cat, getting ready for a test that day, and then be pitching Friday night at 7 o'clock, and going out and doing what I did well that year. So I think those are the things that stand out to me the most when I think back on it: the diversity, the well-roundedness of it. That I
Mhm.
wasn't just an athlete, but I was a student athlete, and that student part came first. even amidst doing really well. I think biggest memory is is actually not on. I mean, there's the memories. I threw a two-hitter at UCLA against Garrett Cole, and
Hmm.
Tyler Shryock hits a home run as a freshman off of a guy that's the first overall pick, and we had some really fun things, moments like that. But I think the memory that is so impactful is I remember we had a Saturday that we weren't going to practice. I talked our coaches into doing community service, and they thought they were kind of mushy on the idea. So I set it up to go down to the Martin Luther King Day of Service, and we had this yellow bus we were all ride down. It's pretty chilly, in the mornings and whatnot. And I remember guys getting on the bus and they're like, Mac, we hate you. This is like, they are so mad they're up this early. You can imagine you're in college on the weekends. You want to
Hmm.
sleep in, all that. And we get down there and we go downtown and we're picking up trash and going through alleys and like the most impoverished areas of Bakersfield. And I had a handful of guys that day come up to me like, Mac, that was pretty cool. That was
Wow.
different. That was something we needed. And then over the next week or so, about half the team came up to me and said the same thing. And I realized like those moments where I changed the way that they look at it. And guys have called me, 5, 10 years later and said, hey, I started doing community service with my players. I don't think I would have done
Wow.
it if you hadn't done it. And I just think those moments are really cool. That's probably the points I'm most proud of and most memorable.
That is, it's outstanding, Mike, and it ties into the work that you've done with Baseball Miracles, which we will dive into in just a second. My last question in terms of your baseball career, you go on to get drafted. You get drafted by the Boston
Yeah.
Red Sox in 2011 in the 14th round and play 6 seasons in the minors, low A to triple A. Is there something that you peel from that experience that has really and truly shaped you as the man that you are today?
Yeah, I think the minor leagues offers you a really unique opportunity to see people from all different colors, creeds, languages, regions of the world. Like there's such diversity in baseball; it's incredible, and we're continuing to work to be more diverse. We want diversity in the game, but seeing players that barely speak any English,
Hmm.
be not because they only speak Spanish, but guys that speak Taiwanese and guys that are from the Netherlands, guys that speak four languages. That you're like, whoa, guys from Australia, New Zealand, Mexico. We're just, it's a concoction. It's very reflective of the United States, like that there's this mixing and this blending, and we're a nation of immigrants, and that's what we're founded on. And I think it's a beautiful testament to the way that baseball is indicative of the world and how we bring people from all different creeds and walks of life. And now we have female coaches that are in the game,
Yeah.
and we have people who've done an incredible work. I'm actually currently coaching 22 softball players at the facility here in town, and it was something that I really wanted to be part of more of a co-ed,
Hmm.
diverse environment. And I felt like I can teach throwing. I'm really good at rotational athletes. Let me teach throwing for boys and girls. And I think minor league baseball taught me a lot about that. It taught me to blend that to if I can make an impact on that little boy that's on the side of the road, on the side of the field, excuse me, and is looking at you and you stopping to sign that autograph.
Hmm.
And that's actually how we've received it. Guys like Gabe Harmon with Baseball Miracles that are in high school now, but I met Gabe in 2013 when he was, like this big. And there's a picture of us at Futures of Fenway where Green Monster in the background, and Gabe has gone on to raise and collect hundreds of pieces of equipment for us and hundreds of dollars in his equipment drives in Maine. So I'm in Reno, Nevada, and he's in Maine, and he's still influenced by that interaction. And I realize the minor leagues are indicative of that, like the time and the authenticity that we bring to the table every single day, the diversity that's around us, the people that we can draw from, and the way those experiences are gonna won't reveal themselves for many years to come. So it's really enjoyable.
When did you? That is incredible. When did you meet Gabe first?
2013 was my first year
Okay.
in with the Portland Sea Dogs. That's Double A for the Boston Red Sox, and that was when I met Gabe for the first time. His family was generous enough to host some players, and so I met them indirectly through that, and it's just continued to grow from there. So he was involved in some of the fundraising drives that we did in Portland with the Sea Dogs, who were incredibly generous over the years for us. And gosh, Gabe was probably involved with two or three of those. I think 2014 through 2016.
Hmm.
So pretty
Wow.
special guy.
That is
Yeah, he's gonna be
that
an amazing human being.
it comes full circle. I mean, just that
Yeah.
story that you just outlined. All right, so let's transition to Baseball Miracles. It's an organization that, like, let's be clear, we would not be talking right now if it weren't for our connection to this organization. That's how you and I met, and I think the first time we met was in 2017 when we went to New Orleans for our mission trip that year. But going back, our founder is John Tomini, a Hall of Fame scout for the Chicago White Sox and the founder of Baseball Miracles. When did you first meet John Tomini, and then when did he bring the the name Baseball Miracles into your head?
Yeah, so crazy story. It's 2013. I was in Double A, the same year I met Gabe Harmon, and I just got moved down to High A. And I was going through like a tough spell. I hadn't thrown as well as I wanted to, and another prospect come up, and I was just sort of finding out some of the ins and outs of minor league baseball and how that some of that stuff worked. And we were in Richmond, Virginia, and the High A team was in Lynchburg, Virginia,
My
and I
hometown, by the
have
way.
whoop whoop.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We're playing the team in Lynchburg, and they said, "Hey, you're going to go down." I'm sorry, we were in Richmond, and they were playing in Lynchburg. He says, "Hey, we're going to send you down," and it was a very quick transition. They're like, the video intern is going to drive you over. It's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour drive. You'd know better than I would. It seemed like
Yeah.
it took 15 hours because you're just racking your brain with, what am I doing? Like, I screwed this up. I suck. None of the good performance psychology notions. And so I ended up, as we're pulling in, we got there before the team did because the team commutes because they're out of
Uh-huh.
Salem. So only, I think, an hour and 15 minutes or so. And I'm sitting there in the clubhouse and I'm just, kind of racking my brain. So I pull out my phone. I start saying, okay, I'm going to get over this. I want to know like what the team record's been the last, say 10 games, where that overall, who's been playing well, who hasn't. So that when I talk to the manager, I'm tuned in and he knows I'm here to perform. I'm not here to like lick my wounds or anything.
Hmm.
So I go on Twitter and I saw some of the stuff there, and I saw that our social media director had retweeted this tweet about a scout going to Kenya, and I thought, what the heck, that's pretty cool. And I'd been searching through 2013, was really trying to find like, how am I going to get back? How is baseball going to be bigger than me? And how's my time here, shorter as long as it is, going to be impactful in the world? And then I get sent down, and it's just this big changing of emotions all over the place. And then I see this tweet. I'm like, wow, that's crazy to think about. So I asked Evan. Lepler was at the time, and he said, "I'm sure you know Evan."
Yeah.
And he says, "Actually, it's John Tomini. He's going to be here at the game today. He's a scout." I said, "Really? What are the chances? I mean, that's just
Wow.
strange." And you just sort of brush it off, like, "Okay, well, it's just coincidence." And then we had a doubleheader that day, and I wasn't scheduled to pitch because I was a starter, so I was charting in the stands. And so he says, "Yeah, he always wears the same style hat, like out in front." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll look for it." And I'm like, sure enough, you see John. I'm like, "That's the hat he's talking about." And so in between
That
games, I
hat,
go over
that
and talk
hat.
to him. It's been around the world, man.
Yeah.
The classic John. So I go and talk to John in between games, and we just started chatting about philanthropy and service and giving back and how that can be impactful in the world. And he had mentioned, and he get a lot of people that said, "Oh, I want to go to Kenya too," but nobody that really, sort of wanted to put in the time and the effort and put some skin in the game. And John, I told John, I said, "John, I think this is really cool. I'd really like to be a part of it. I promise you I'll always pull my own weight and be a part of that. So I've always done my whole life, and I'd like to be a part of this." And he says, "Well, yeah, no, I appreciate it. We'll see how things go." And so the agreement was, if I eventually send me an email, I says, "Okay, look, I'm in, you're in, but you have to raise $500 to go on the trip to Ireland." And I said, and the trip to Ireland, I was like, man, $500, minor league salary, that's a lot of money, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I raised the $500, and I ended up raising more than that. And so I went on the trip and had a great experience, and it just sort of catapulted me into it. And I was bought in ever since. So.
Wow. First conversation you had with him, Baseball Miracles came up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
John. Anybody that talks to John knows that baseball miracles. Baseball's going to come up, and baseball miracles is
Yeah.
going to come up, right? Like, that's a huge part of him, and obviously his faith too. Like, is a
Right.
huge part of that. But those are the things that he really centers his life around. His grandchildren, his family, But those are, for John, he's passionate about things. He doesn't dilly dally with conversation. He doesn't waste time. And so the things
He
that are on
gets
his
to the
mind,
point.
totally. And I really relate to guys like that. I tend to be the same way. It's just an important part of life is like, what do you stand for? What are your purposes? What do you mean to do in this world? How are you going to make it better? And I
Mhm.
think John does that in his daily life, which is beautiful.
So just to clarify, you were in the Salem Red Sox field, like he was behind home plate at that field when you
In
met him.
Lynchburg. Yeah. We
So
met
you
him.
met him. You met him. Hold on, I'm processing this right now because I
Yeah.
can't believe it. As I put
Your
two and two
hometown.
together, you met him for the first time in Lynchburg,
Correct.
which is insane because that's where I met him for the first time.
Yeah.
Which did you know that?
Either John doesn't travel much or there's something special about the stadium in Lynchburg.
Did you know that, or did you know that I met him for the first time in Lynchburg?
I did not. I
Yeah.
remember the connection with Lynchburg, but I didn't realize that's where you met him for the first time
Yeah.
as well. It
Wow.
shouldn't be surprising though. That makes sense.
That's crazy. I was a video
That's
intern.
awesome.
Yeah, I was a video intern my junior and senior year of high school, and yeah, he was sitting behind home plate with the hat, and
The
we were talking it up, and I don't think that it took a little bit of time before he brought the baseball miracles name to me. Actually, I think maybe it was because I was much younger than you were when you had met him, and
Mhm.
he wanted to see how I would grow. But very, very cool stuff. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's how I
So
met Virgil too, right? Virgil Vasquez
yeah,
was I
that
think in New Britain River Cats. No,
the new
they were the team in New Britain,
yeah, I'm
and
drawing a blank.
they were the Double A for the Twins, and
Yes,
and
yes,
Virgil was with them at the time, and that's how they met as well. So
yeah,
amazing how it works.
that's unbelievable. All right, so let's dive into some of these trips. I mean, just
Yeah.
reflecting on the incredible experiences that you've been able to be a part of with Baseball Miracles. I know you've been on a plethora of trips with Baseball Miracles. What what stands out about all of these trips? Because for those that are watching for the first time, we go into communities and serve deserving children across the world in multiple elements. It's not just the sport; it's the community service, the faith, so on and so forth. What do you peel from these experiences?
Yeah, the the opportunity to go out and serve and allow baseball to be a medium to do that, right? Like we give and we serve the game that we all enjoy so much, and it brings people together, just as games and sport and community and these collections of teams and joy that have dated back hundreds and even thousands of years that we've known have existed. And those are such an important part of our life. That the way that we create camaraderie is through interaction and joy and competition. And I think that watching baseball be the avenue that we use that for, given we're all fans of the game, right? That we all love it. We've grown up enjoying it in some fashion or another, and allowing that to be an opportunity to serve others, to give to the world around us, and to be generous with our time, be generous with our money, to know that the that our lives have to represent something greater than just what we do in our the home we live in or the car we drive, but it needs to send a ripple out into the world. And when more people come together to make that ripple at the same time, we make an even bigger ripple. And so Baseball Miracles is a group like that. It's a group that has sent out a massive ripple into the world through the game of baseball and built camaraderie, connection, and a sense of service to the world that humbles us all in our daily lives. So when I look at the trips, I think of the locations oftentimes stand out, the names, Honduras and South Africa and Kenya. And people think, wow, they hear those names because they have an image in their brain. What really stands out to me is this sense of commitment to one another, this connection between the people and those communities with which we're attempting to serve. And these people don't just serve on these trips, but they serve in their daily lives every day, in the way that they treat the world around them, the way they interact with the person at the grocery store versus the food bank they volunteer at or the homeless shelter. The way that they go out and serve and live their lives is just um, it's magnified when we go on these trips because it's so obvious and evident in the way that they interact, the way they talk to a young child, the way that they connect with somebody, they put their arm around somebody, they shake hands, they're generous with their empathy or their connection. So they're beautiful in that regard, and it's just done through baseballs and bats and many other ways as well. The way that we've given, when we see something that's in need, we aren't just a baseball group, but we are a
Yeah.
missionary group. And so when there's a need, it's not just do you need more baseballs, but hey, there's a stove that a family or an orphanage has lost. We've purchased things and goods for families that are in deep need. These orphanages that we work with, they're in need of assistance. We say, how can we help? And
Mhm.
we don't just limit that to baseball, which is really enjoyable as well.
It's touching to hear, especially coming from you, because you've played such a huge role on these trips as the field coordinator. But just your personality, your the human connection to open up and share share yourself with people from many different backgrounds. I think one of the things that I pull from one of the trips that I was on when we were in Puerto Rico, aside from the fact that our shelter in Yabacoa flooded to about, I think it was 2 or 3 inches of standing water in our little shelter. But
I feel
hey,
like there's like
we
10 gallons in my bag.
we yeah, we quickly grabbed our stuff off the floor and put it on high tables, and then had a couple squeegees, and they're long lasting images that were just just cool to be a part of, honestly, even though in that moment we may have been like, dang, my bag's wet. But to be inserted into that community, and one thing that I have tried to do is stay in contact with one of the principal, actually, of the Marta Sanchez School, that one of the two locations that we went to down there. She told me that her students wear the Baseball Miracles t-shirts to school on occasion,
Wow,
which
that's
I
amazing.
just, yeah, it's those types of things, Mike, that
Yeah,
that stand out, and that's what we're trying to do to more and more places.
totally. So it's funny you say that, and like so many things are rushing through my brain when you talk about that, because uh, I every trip we go on, I have a white shirt and I ask all the kids to sign it. And so I've got this collection of shirts, dating back 2013, that have kids' signatures from around the world on it. And it always just is reflective to me of how fortunate I am to have gone to those places for them to impact me. I don't think that I think that I'm impactful, but I don't see myself as being this massive catalyst in the
Hmm.
world in the same way that I look at these kids touch my life in so many ways, that I'll never be able to repay them for. So I feel so fortunate in that regard. I asked the team to sign a baseball as well, and so I have those here at my house as well. And I just, when you see the way that some of these kids continue to make an impact in the world, and how they're going to continue to grow and develop and see a sense of philanthropy and worldliness that they may not have been exposed to, I just can't help but smile and bring, like, there's like a warmth to my heart. There's like butterflies in my stomach at the excitement to hear that,
Hmm.
and the joy that that brings. So, and that's really special. I I laugh because it seems like every trip there's always something, right? And
Yeah.
when I started thinking back on these trips, I realized, I mean, you brought up New Orleans earlier. Like, who would have thought that we would have our rental car stolen the first day that we're there,
Yeah.
right out of the parking lot, right? Which was amazing to think about. And we still found a way to go serve the kids. Like, we worked our way
Yeah.
through it to make it work. You go to Puerto Rico, and the same thing. The place we're staying at floods, right? I mean, a pipe happens to break, and you're like, "What in the world? Are you serious?"
Hmm.
And we happened to be out in the community and come back. And luckily, John and Duraka and Greg were there. And Greg happened to go back. He's like, "Yeah, I just need to go back to go to the bathroom," because they were out on a walk. So he comes back and finds this flood, and
Uh,
just amazing how it always seems like something. We're in, well, I'll air my dirty laundry. Or in Argentina, I left my passport in the Uber on
um,
accident, obviously on accident, and embarrassing moments like that. We're scrambling to find it, to get it back, and which we did, which is good. I'm grateful for the help that we received. Mike Fiji's amazing. Um, it's just always something, right?
yeah.
And you go to Honduras. There was a hurricane that came through, right? You're like, what in the world? just always something. So, you continue to serve. The joy, the love, the compassion, the desire to serve the kids continues to grow. And no matter what, we continue to do that, irregardless of anything that tries to deter us.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. It shows the grit and the integrity of the group when they do that, and their commitment to service to wherever we go. So it's beautiful.
It is. It really is. I mean, the trip in New Orleans when we went to a juvenile detention center, that was pretty eye opening for
Yeah.
me. Just to
Good.
give these kids an opportunity to see to potentially see a way out and latch on, and they were thrilled. I think that was one that sometimes we don't have pictures from that,
Right.
right? Just because of the protocol and everything, but we were, allowed to be in there. And uh remember, we were in just it was like a boxed, almost like a
Yeah.
large
Yeah.
racquetball room.
Yeah. No sharp edges. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just,
Amazing, right?
it was great.
Yeah.
um
It was impactful because we aren't just there to serve those that are fiscally poor, right? Like, it's not just a materialism standpoint,
mhm,
but it is those that are in need of service, right? Like, those that need help, and in many ways that we need help. Like, I need that perspective because that perspective has changed the way I look at the world.
mhm,
And so they are serving us at the same time, and in many ways, we're going there only to both give and receive service. And I think that authenticity of that interaction goes a really long way because it opens my eyes, and I realize I need to be more understanding of the world around me. I need to be more, not necessarily accepting, but understanding. I need to empathize more and lead with empathy and lead with love versus leading with judgment, leading with a crassness or a
mhm.
hardness that judges the world, but instead says, how can I understand more of the world? And I think those opportunities, like what we take back versus, and not versus, but what they receive and what we receive is in many ways symbiotic. It's very mutual. And
Mhm.
I'm so grateful of those opportunities because those, when we go there and show them there's an opportunity and tell them stories, and John can directly connect, having worked in the prison system, and
Mhm.
connect with this. And I mean, the time that I had in with early level delinquency as a kid and the struggle of emotional challenges and going through therapy and working your way through that to find a greater side of who you want to be, we need to see more examples of that because oftentimes we see the end of the rainbow, but we don't know how to get there. We see that like light at the end of the tunnel as a great feeling. And it's mediums like it's people like John or myself or people that can bridge that gap and connect you with where you are and how do I get out of that. It's the
Mhm.
hard part. That area in the middle is what really makes big impact. I think those kids in around the world get to see that is beautiful thing. So I'm really, really grateful about that, about baseball miracles.
Lovely. Love to hear that. You and I talked about this before, but your involvement not just on trips, but other projects that you have taken on, you've shouldered the load out west. Can you talk a little bit about those and just ways that has helped contribute to the organization, because that it means a
Right.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge part of it, right? Like we are 100% nonprofit, nobody paid, nobody takes a dime. We all donate thousands of dollars every year. And because we're passionate about it. And so places like Northern Nevada Baseball Club, right, and Northern Nevada Tilt here in Reno that have given us equipment and donations and helped us fundraise money and that we've been able to run camps off of that I donate a portion of the proceeds to. Places like Lengthwise Brewing Company or Bakersfield Police Department, Police
Hmm.
Activities League in Bakersfield, the Boys and Girls Club, all these places that the Friendship House and people like Mark Tennis, that all these people have poured in hundreds of hours and I mean hundreds and thousands of dollars that they've contributed in some way, equipment they've donated. We set up a yoga program where every Tuesday we would do yoga at Lengthwise, which is a brewery in Bakersfield. They have a great spot and they've been really generous over the years. I mean, literally, they've helped us raise tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of pounds of equipment. It's incredible, and they stored it
Wow.
for us in their facility. Amazing. And we did yoga on Tuesdays, and portion of the proceeds was donated to Baseball Miracles. So just through that program, we received a few $1,000s. through yoga over the 3 or 4 year period. It was
Mm.
just incredible to see the generosity of people that we've done that, hosted dinners, auction events, etc. So I'm really fortunate. I feel like I'm blessed with the leadership and guidance of so many wonderful people in this world. And places like Lengthwise, Jeff Williams, Darren Schwicker. They're just amazing people. I can't express enough gratitude toward.
And knowing that money that you raise is going to the experiences that you firsthand get to see, and it just means
Yeah.
so much more when you get that type of interaction with the kids that we serve. And what Dan Jason did this past year, we want to continue with our virtual 5K. Hopefully make it something where people can attend in person, but that was a major success, a couple $1,000 raised there. We'll have details on the 2021 Baseball Miracles 5K soon. So stay tuned for those watching.
We gotta get those
Wow.
times under 20.
My time was my
Uh,
my my fastest 5K, not around 8:30, 18:30, 18:30.
okay,
Yeah.
good for you, man.
Yeah.
Bragging rights. You're leading the
Enough.
pack. I'll be
Enough.
I'll be chasing your dust, and we can keep waving
enough.
as you go
Enough of
by.
me. This question, Mike, actually, and I think I'll wrap up with this one. This just popped into my head. Um, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where do you how do you envision Baseball Miracles evolving? Like, where do you hope to see the organization in 10, 15 years? Because we're in a tough time right now. A lot of things in our world,
Hmm.
whether it's COVID, the injustices, just everything. What do you hope to see Baseball Miracles? Where do you hope to see Baseball Miracles in 5, 10, 15 years from now as we continue to evolve?
I hope to see Baseball Miracles as a group that is impacting a larger number of people. We always want to grow, and we realize like the number of people we impact is important. But I also want to see Baseball Miracles continue to be a place that focuses on the quality of the impact and not just on the quantity. The quality of the impact, and it's not just on the baseball field, but it resonates as a way of thinking about the world around you, and continuing to send that ripple out in those examples like a Gabe Harmon or the people that we have brought on through the Baseball Miracles internship groups and volunteerism that continue to say like we're going to continue to expand. We're going to do it because we want to expand the people that are there. We're not saying how many people. That quality and that authenticity is really important to me, and something that I admire a lot in the way that we've approached things over the years. I would love to say, oh, we want to impact 1 million people and on 6 continents, like let's say even 7 continents. Go to Antarctica. It sounds amazing.
That
But
would
I
be
think that
unreal.
we'll teach some penguins throw some baseball. But I think that sounds great, and those goals are ambitious, and they should be. But they lose the integrity at times of what Baseball Miracles has become about, which is that quality of the interactions and the people that continue to see it as a part of their life versus just something that came into their life and then left. And I think that quality is something we continue to see in these um, like like microcosms of places like Bakersfield or places like Reno, places in Newburgh, places like Portland, Maine. These groups that continue to pop up and start to make an impact and slowly expand their impact.
Mm.
And I think that's where, when I look at Baseball Miracles as it continues to evolve in 10 or 15 years, I think it'd be great to be involved with every minor league city and major league city across the nation. I think those are great opportunities for us to impact them. And there's tons of minor league players like myself that want to get involved.
Hmm.
And we continue to reach those guys and impact them more and more. Because guys like myself, Virgil Vasquez, like played minor league baseball, and that's awesome. You're like, great job, but did it mean something more? And we can be an easy bridge in that space to make a huge, huge impact. Because I was searching, I was
Yeah.
looking for somebody to help me make an impact, and Baseball Miracles was there. And so I hope that we focus on those catalytic moments, those people that can become enzymes in their community and their local region as it continues to
Right.
reverberate out.
Right. Absolutely. Well put. And I like to think, if I'm to answer my own question, I mean,
Yeah.
I see, for example, in Maryland, when we went to Maryland in 2019, August 2019, a kid from one of our clinics threw out the first pitch of a Bowie Bay Sox game. So I think let's do that and then some. Like let's be bold and try and get a kid from, just speaking out loud here, from from our Puerto Rico trip one day when he or she is older to throw the first pitch at a big league game.
Yeah.
And I think that would just, those types of things have been like sitting with me where I'm like, wow, that wouldn't it be crazy one day if someone from our clinic in Kenya or Honduras, Puerto Rico, 10 years from that clinic is out on a major league baseball field or a softball field and is throwing out the first pitch, being recognized.
Right.
It's stuff like that
Sounds awesome.
that keeps it going. So
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for the time, for joining us on our Spotlight series. I know you've got some busy days ahead, right? You're making your way to Minnesota soon. Is that correct for spring training?
Yeah, we'll be heading to Florida soon.
Okay.
So we're in Fort Myers, Florida. It's probably the Grapefruit League, and so we'll be heading that direction.
So not
Probably be leaving
Minnesota.
here
So not Minnesota. You're gonna dump your bags in Minnesota because you'll end up back in St. Paul, or
I'll go straight to Florida and
okay.
then make my way up to Minnesota from there. Yeah. So we'll ship cars and then jump on a flight and make our way up there sometime early April.
Okay.
So it's
I guess
exciting.
I was
Baseball
thinking,
2021, baby.
I was thinking maybe that you would go up to Minnesota and then travel down with the team, but you're all going to just meet in Florida for spring training.
Yeah. Yep. We meet there in Fort
right.
Myers. So we're good.
Well, good luck. I certainly wish you nothing but the best, and I'm hopeful that we can find each other, like be together again for a trip. I mean, I know COVID is a lot of, there's a lot of uncertainty, but hopefully down the road, I know we have some things potentially lined up and in the works, but fingers crossed that we're able to do that and serve.
Yeah. And thank you, Sam. I appreciate all that you do. I mean, the work that you put in and the time and the tactfulness, the empathy and the questions you ask that are authentic and wonderful. So you bring out the best in all of us. Thank you.